Ladies and gentlemen, Behind the Line proudly presents to you another exciting edition of The Woke! Turning on The Woke! This episode is brought to you by Woke Memorial Hospital. Are you a late-night comedian suffering through a stage 4 case of OMB? Orange Man Bad! Perhaps you're a yenta on The View, or even worse, married to one, and you spend every day dealing with the side effects of this devastating disease. Don't let OMB make your boodle brittle when you can be treated by pretend doctors at Woke Memorial Hospital. The OMB unit at Woke Memorial is led by pretend Dr. Jill Biden. Pretend Dr. Jill has effectively treated thousands of patients through intensive therapy and placebos. Woke hugs and placebos, Don's lemons and butt bongo. After treatment at Woke Memorial, Mother Goose will be identifying as Papa Shango. Start your treatment today by visiting pretendrjill.biden. Jimmy Kimmel. I'm sure this will come as a surprise to anyone who has wasted their time watching his late night dump on ABC, but James Kimmel is a creative genius. Over the last few months, I have heard countless excuses from the mainstream media as to why Donald Trump won the election. Some in the media blamed mythical racism. They claimed America wasn't ready to elect a black president. I thought that excuse was ironic and disrespectful to the legacy of America's first black president, Bill Clinton. Some in the media blame mythical misogyny. They claim that we weren't ready for the first female president. The ambitious wanker spankers, they combined those excuses and claimed that it was a combination of mythical racism and mythical misogyny. Some blamed fascism. Some blamed threats to democracy. Of course, many in the media, they blame the white man. As you guys know, anytime something goes wrong, the first responders in the media automatically blame the white man. And if it's not the white man, it's the orange man. But if the white man becomes the orange woman, he's automatically exempt from media-created outrage. Over the last 5 or 6 months, the mainstream media has blamed just about everyone for the election of the Trumper, except the people who were actually responsible for the Trumper getting elected. The mainstream media has blamed everyone but themselves. But that pesky detail, it was not conveniently overlooked by the genius of Jim Kimmel. Earlier this week, Jimmy Kimmel was interviewed by Rolling Stone. Well, Casey, what the hell's a Rolling Stone? I thought Rolling Stones were what WNBA dump divers use to bowl because they can't afford bowling balls. Rolling Stone used to be an influential magazine. Keywords, used to be. Today, Rolling Stone is read by a few hundred people who are willing to pay $10 a month for low-quality paper for ass wiping. But they were interviewing Jim Kimmel, and believe it or not, Jim came up with a valid reason that the Trumper was elected. I blame these liberals. They viciously attacked comedians and turned people away from embracing the woke wiener. I don't want to see anyone canceled over comedy. That's just wrong. For the first time, possibly ever, I actually agree with Jim Kimmel. Although I don't blame real liberals. The real liberals are not responsible for this, guys like Bill Maher. I blame the deacons at Woke United Methodist. I don't want to see comedians canceled. Hell, I don't want to see anyone canceled over words. Now, the good news for Jim Kimmel, I don't think his late night dump will be canceled over comedy, mainly because comedy doesn't exist on his show. The bad news is I could see James canceled over his plummeting ratings. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. Today on the second channel, going to be talking about this new policy in the WNBA dump. The diva of dump divas, Kat Engelbert, she has decided to protect WNBA dump divers from criticism, or as the Dump Diva calls it, hate speech. If you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. After the election, networks like CNN, MSNBC, they lost about half their audience. The Morning John on MSNBC went from 1 million viewers to struggling to reach 600,000. The Wicked Weave, Joy Reid, she lost half her audience. Then she lost her weave and eventually lost her job. Ratings at CNN went from almost nothing down to nothing. CNN ratings were no longer circling the pooper because there was nothing left in the toilet to flush. But for some reason, the trio of huge embarrassing failures in late night television, they saw the opposite effect. Ratings in late night actually increased after the election. I guess Americans were in a good mood. They were feeling relief for the first time in 4 years. They finally had a president that didn't need to be rushed off stage for a diaper change. They finally had a first lady who wasn't running around the country pretending to be a doctor. When people are in a good mood, they want to watch mindless television. They want to watch people who can make them laugh. And therein lies the problem for late night television. During the weeks after the election, Americans were tuning into late night programs looking for comedy. And instead, they ended up looking at a trio of huge embarrassing failures disguised as comedians. That ratings bump in the fourth quarter of 2024, it immediately vanished by January. This week, ratings were released for the first 3 months of 2025. 7 of the 9 late-night programs saw drastic declines in their ratings. The only shows that saw their ratings increase was the king of late-night, Greg Gutfeld, and some doofus on Bravo named Andy Cougar. Somehow, his show is even worse than Jim Kimmel's. Andy Cougar interviews these unknowns who call themselves Bravo celebrities. The police call them missing persons. But either way, Greggy and Andy saw increases during the first quarter while every other show experienced declines. And in the case of Jim Kimmel, the declines were drastic. Jim averaged 1.8 million viewers, down 8% compared to last year. Well, Uncle KC, that doesn't sound so bad. Oh, it gets worse. In the 18 to 49 demo, the demo advertisers care about in late night, Jim Kimmel averaged an abysmal, atrocious, embarrassing 178,000 viewers, a decline of 24% compared to last year. Let me just put that number in perspective for you. The Daily Show, a failure on Comedy Central, the show hosted by Jon Stu one night a week and hosted by a rotating panel of missing persons the other 4 nights of the week. The Daily Show averaged 1 million viewers during the first quarter, which is a great number for Comedy Central. You gotta remember, when Travis Noah was hosting The Daily Show, Travis had ratings down to a cool 300,000. So The Daily Show has come a long way since Travis left to pursue what he called other opportunities. Yeah, the IRS called it unemployment. But 1 million viewers for The Daily Show. 1 million. Jim Kimmel damn near doubles that number, but The Daily Show outperformed Jim in the demo with 194,000 viewers compared to 178,000. Of the major late night shows, Jim Kimmel finished last place in the key demo. The question is, why? Why is Jim Kimmel not relating to young viewers? Hell, people in the age range of 18 to 49, that probably represents over half the country. So why is Jim struggling to relate to them? How come millennials and Gen LGBT don't relate to Jim's brand of comedy? Obviously, Jim's biggest problem is he's not funny. He's not a comedian. But one thing millennials and Gen LGBT have in common, hell, the only thing my generation has in common with Gen ++, we both have short attention spans, which is a real problem for Jim Kimmel because over 90% of his material, it's about one man, Donald Trump. I'll show you a couple of examples of Jim's comedy. Watch for yourself.
Our stable genius has it all under control, and he would like us to be aware there's a lot of good economic news, too.
I said we're going to try and get groceries down, right? An old-fashioned term, but a beautiful term. Eggs. Eggs are down now 79%, and they're all over the place. We have groceries, meaning food is down. Everything's down.
That's right. Stock market's down. Your 401ks are down. Morale is down. Everything is down. The guy who owns the company Sticker Mule commissioned a statue of Trump and presented him with that statue. There they are. The sculpture is 7 feet tall. It's made of bronze, and it has already been issued a restraining order from the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, Jim! Look, I don't mind jokes about the Trumper. Saturday Night Live has this dude that impersonates Donnie. The kid is amazing. It's the only thing entertaining on that show. It would be one thing if Jim Kimmel joked about the Trumper and the jokes were actually funny. They're not. And the reason they're not is because Jim Kimmel has been obsessed with Donald Trump since 2015. After 10 years of making jokes about one dude, you eventually run out of material. He had 4 years with John Biden, and Jim Kimmel spent the last 4 years making fun of Trump. Eventually, it just gets old. I have never seen another man this obsessed with another man. For 2 decades, Skip Bayless was obsessed with LeBron James, but that obsession pales in comparison to the obsession that Jim Kimmel has with the Trumper. It's like the Trumper rejected Jim's romantic queries, and ever since, Jim has been scorned. He tried to fill his need for masculinity with Howie Stern, but that didn't work out for obvious reasons. So he has spent the last decade demonizing the object of his obsession, and the end result is huge embarrassing failure. Give me your thoughts on this. Jim Kimmel's ratings plummet. Jim is down 8% overall, 24% in the demo, and he finished last place in the key 18 to 49 demo. Let me ask you something. Has Jim Kimmel lost his motivation? For years, he has been teasing retirement. Do you think he has lost his drive? Has he lost his motivation? If not, why are his ratings declining? Why is he finishing in last place? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.